This is one of my prized pickups from Blade Show 2021. This is the Elmer Roush Spike Tomahawk. The story goes like this. After the end of the first day of Blade Show, that was Friday evening, I'm sitting there trying to upload a video I shot, and I see Andrew Demko walk by with two of these, and I asked him where he got them. And he said, Elmer Roush is here. You got to go check out his table tomorrow. And also a buddy of Andrew Demko's, a guy who works with him, I guess, had another Elmer Roush axe. It was a little bit bigger, a little bit more Viking-y. This guy looked a little bit more Viking-y, and it suited him perfectly. And they were both like, oh yeah, you got to go check him out. So I put him on my list, and then first thing on Saturday, I went to his table and saw this and another one just like it, and for about 20 minutes I was going back and forth which one I was going to buy, and really it was like splitting hairs because they were both just perfection. And so Elmer Roush is an old and well-respected name in hand-forged tomahawks and axes and hammers and the like, I guess hafted implements, you might say. And when I was there at his table, he was a very nice guy, as was his wife. And there was a gentleman there from Georgia with his wife. I believe he was a British gentleman, talking to him and just gushing. I guess Elmer Roush had taught him quite a bit about how to forge. And that gentleman now teaches his own classes and had his own table there. And it was cool to kind of be a fly on the wall with their conversation, and then it was great to talk to him himself. I'm inviting him onto the show. He said he'd like to come on and talk about his process of forging tomahawks and axes and such. There was a recent CRKT axe release by him. I think it was the Freya axe, maybe. It's more of a Nordic-looking affair, but he is a well-respected name, and I can see why. This tomahawk has a 20-inch haft. I think it's 20. Yeah, it's 20 inches from here to here. So it is it's a long tomahawk, but it is incredibly light, and I think that just has to do with how it's made. Let me, I'm used to, in this modern context, we're used to full tang steel tomahawks, used more for like breaching doors and for hardcore utility tasks. This is more of a light utility kind of thing, and a weapon, and weapons need to be light to move around quickly, especially an axe. You need it to be lighter if you're going to use it as a weapon, so you can recover after a swing and get it back into position to use. Well, he nailed it with this, and let me tell you how it's made. The axe came with a little card, and it says, "This axe is patterned after one that was traded to the Indians in the Northeast American colonies in the 18th century. It is hand forged from 1018 mild steel with a bit and spike of high carbon 1095 forge welded to it." So I believe that is done so that you have, so that it's not all hardened all the way through. It's not super hard steel all the way through, so that you have some flexibility and some toughness when you're using this in an impact. You get the idea. You've seen Forged in Fire, you know what that's all about. The handle is of hickory with a finish of linseed oil and beeswax. The finish is applied as a paste and then heated to cause it to penetrate and darken the color of the wood. So this wood is beeswax and linseed, and oh man, it is the handle itself is a thing of beauty. Very, very light, very, very strong. Hickory is a very strong wood. And then something I learned from Zach Wingard of Wingard Wearables. Look for his interview coming up soon if it hasn't already dropped. is wedging, first of all, hanging the head on the haft in such a way that it's not friction fit where it slides onto the bottom and then comes to a widening and fits there by friction, but hanging it from the top where it can't slide down the handle this way and has to be wedged in. And then, so the idea is wedging it in, there's the wedge, with a wood that is the same wood as the haft, so that as they contract and expand with heat and moisture, they do it at the same rate. Sometimes you'll see a metal wedge, and that can tend to become proud or even, you know, come out because, well, there's not as much friction with the metal, A and B. The metal and the wood contract and expand at different rates. So there's not enough room to really show you, but this thing really handles nicely. And by handles it, you know, I have not gone out and gotten in any tomahawk fights this week with this, so I don't have much experience with that. But you know, I can swing it around a little bit, and it feels great, as opposed to, for instance, I have a Schrade spiked tomahawk. It's a great tool that's more of a, like I said, a high impact utility tool you might use for chopping into a door or something. My girls got that for me a few years back because they found it in my Amazon list and bought it, and it was a very nice surprise. That stays in my car with some emergency equipment. It's more what I would use that for. It weighs a ton by comparison. Not a literal ton, but it weighs quite a bit by comparison. I think it's a 2-pound axe. This thing is under a pound. I could go get my scale, but I'm not going to. Like, I have plenty of knives that are heavier than this axe. Look at that spike here. Let's measure it for a second. That spike here is 3 3/4 inches long, and just, you know, a bit of devastation there. And this blade is quite sharp, but still has a decent thickness behind the edge to be more of an axe than a knife blade, which is what you want on a tomahawk. So, as you may know or may have surmised, I'm in a bit of a tomahawk phase lately, and a lot of that is due to Zach Wingard and his videos and Wingard wearables, and they're really cool tomahawks. This is a spontoon hawk that they make called the Empress. A spontoon hawk is it's a weapon, like, pretty much period, and the front main blade is more of a blade, like a knife blade shape. Even though they don't generally come to a sharp edge like a blade, they are meant for punching into something or someone and then easily being extracted. So less of a utility blade than this. This, you can do a lot of different kind of chopping. And of course, you can use this in a chopping fashion on an enemy in a fight. But if it punches all the way in past the beard, then you have the extraction issue. That's where the spike comes in handy. So with a spontoon hawk, you know, you can look them up. There are a lot of beautiful examples you can find just by Googling spontoon hawk. But with a spontoon hawk, it's meant to go in, come out easily, you know, if you will, including the sound effects. And this Wingard Wearables version is really awesome. This the main blade on this is patterned after a megalodon tooth. It's got a sharp edge down here and a rounded edge up here, and just that overall shape is like a shark's tooth. And then it has this ergonomically bent spike in the back, less there for impact, less of a spike like this, which you would use to punch into something. And this is more of because it's sharp on the bottom edge, this is more of a grabbing, trapping, pulling, tearing hook. Also really nice hickory handle, also very, very light. This is a bronze head, a cast bronze head. he has a whole video on why he uses bronze, very interesting. And like I commented very wittily on his video, if it was good enough for Odysseus, it's good enough for me. Bronze is a very, well, I don't know. I'm not going to call it an underrated material, but it's a material I don't think of frequently because it's not great for knife blades, but for this purpose, it's excellent. So the Elmer Roush is much longer. This is more of an EDC concealable thing. You can conceal this with a trench coat, obviously. And let me show it also with my first tomahawk. This is a cold steel Norse hawk that I, just put some cord wrap on and stained the haft and such. This is that friction fit style where the head slides over the bottom end and wedges up as the haft gets wider. This has, even though it's got this Allen screw that goes into the wood, this has come loose. I mean, it's already loose here. It's never quite as tight as, say, this kind of fit, where it wedges down this way and then is wedged in that way. This is always kind of rattled. You can see I put some tape there to try and get it to seat better. And then, it'll get tight, and then I'll throw it at my target that I always miss and never stick, and it loosens up again. So this is a different kind of thing, and I've always liked this, but this is kind of a Bugatti compared to this, 87 Camaro, let's say. Still a cool car, still a cool axe and everything, but just heavy and kind of slow and kind of rickety, I guess. So, well, this lives in the man cave, ready for action if need be, and I have respect for it. It's just, I think I'm moving on in the tomahawk game to a more refined thing, and this Elmer Roush certainly fits the bill. Anyway, as most people predicted, this does live on the weapons wall behind me. When you watch the podcast, you'll see my Filipino swords and my naval cutlass and my Fairbairn Sykes dagger and such. And this, even though this wasn't a weapon that was used, this is not a weapon that's older than me, that lived in a different time and place, which is what all the other weapons are, but it surely looks like it could fit the bill. It really looks like it could have been. So I figured, as an honorary member of the Wall of Fame, this is a good thing to have up there. All right, there it is, your Elmer Roush spiked tomahawk. Thanks for watching.